See me up here. Good morning. I'm Eve Spencer. I am from Magic Radio Afternoons. It's been a long time since I have DJ'd at this time in the morning, and it was under very different circumstances. It's lovely to see you all here. Welcome, everybody, to the Future of Media 2024. I'm going to need you to put your hands together in a bit of a bigger fashion because we are about to welcome to the stage my co-host, Steve Scafardi, Managing Director of Ad Wanted Events and the Media Leader. Make some noise.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Neve. Like I've waited all my life for a moment like that to be introduced by a real radio DJ. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Future of Media London. There I am. Absolutely delighted to have you all here today. It's been a long time coming, this event, but let's get the important things out the way before we crack on. So everyone wants to know the Wi-Fi, so you can get online. Here it is, the QR code for the agenda. You'll see that throughout the venue as well. Big thank you to these guys here that help us put these events on. And I'm going to take you through a bit of a history of this particular event. Don't worry, I won't bore you for too long, just so you can see where we've come from and where we are today, and hopefully where we're looking to go. And these guys really do help us put this sort of event on. I mean, we've got our friends from Bauer, of course, helping us out today with all the intros. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a walk back in time. And here we are back in some very dark times here. We saw this guy a lot back in 2020. He told us to stay indoors and not party. Oh, the irony. And we were back then known as MediaTel News. We used to do our events like this, and some friendly faces there of Ad Wanted Events and our events. And I've got to be honest, we put this event on really out of panic. We'd pretty much done every other type of future of you can think of, future of audio, future of outdoor, future of publishing, any future you can think of. So we got to November, if you remember, we went into lockdown in March, and we kind of just went, well, we've run out of ideas, let's do the future of media. So it wasn't a stroke of genius to put this event on at all. But then we kind of moved forward a year, and we were let back out. So we got a bit excited, we had a rebrand. This lovely chap that you can see up on screen there, we yanked away from campaign to be part of our family, and our very first in-person event after lockdown was the Future of Media. And the headliner at that time was our columnist Nick Manning and Jan Goodin, of course, Omar Oakes as well as our editor. And what we wanted to do was champion media excellence. So we move on now a year later, and we're flexing our muscles a bit now. We're allowed out a bit more often. We go for another rebrand, not only of the event, but we call ourselves the Media Leader from MediaTel News. We launched the Future 100, all part of celebrating the wonderful talent that exists within this industry. And that particular year, we brought together not only a panel of industry leaders, but a panel of future leaders as well. We had two separate conversations going on in two different rooms. And the idea was that we wanted to understand what it was that you, the industry, wanted us to champion in the Media Lead. And we landed on harnessing talent, trust in media, and sustainability. And of course, that year we had, we really raised our bar in terms of the type of speakers that we got. So we had Jill Scott, who then went on to I'm a Celebrity, and yes, she did mention the future of media on ITV. Not that we've dined out on it much. I'm going to show the clip now. No, of course I won't. And Carolyn McCall come as well. And the relationship we started to really build with a lot of the big media organisations was really starting to build at rapid pace. And this was all about launching of ITVX and speaking to our audience about what was happening there. So now we move on to the previous year that we did. And we're busy people. We couldn't rebrand this time. We just switched the chevrons over. But this is where we then rolled the dice, and we landed on our core values of disruption, innovation, courage, and excellence. And we, again, looked to raise the bar in terms of the speakers that we had. So now we're going a bit more global. We brought over Yannick Bolloré. We didn't bring over Sir Martin. He did it from screen. We went old school, like the good old lockdown days. So then we moved to this year, and not 2 weeks ago, we was in Manchester, and we launched the Future of Media Manchester, and we were blown away. You can see the images up there, the turnout, the vibe, the buzz, and we feel like it was the joining then of the circles in terms of making sure that this entire media ecosystem in this industry were part of the conversation that we wanted to deliver. And everything about that event made us feel less nervous about today. Because as you can see, we're in our new home. We've gone really big with this one. Slightly nervous that maybe all 1,000 registrations were going to turn up at the same time, but hopefully we've avoided the crush and we will be able to feed you all at lunch. But here we are now at the Future Media London. And the lineup over the next 2 days is spectacular. And I may be a little bit biased for saying that, but genuinely I think this team have pulled out all the stops again this year. And what we hope that you'll get from the next 2 days is a lot of insight, some great innovation and conversations going up on stage, and also we just enjoy it and we have fun. And you remember that what we set out to do 5 years ago is hopefully now starting to come to fruition. And that was to create the most important media conference that you'll attend here in the UK throughout the year. So hopefully we'll deliver. That's enough for me. Thank you ever so much again for joining us today, and I hope you join us for the whole 2 days. I'm going to throw it back to Neve, who's now going to get it started, and I'm going to get myself off stage. Neve, what have we got coming up?
Oh, we've got such good sessions planned. Thank you so much, Steve. So yes, as Steve was saying, we are getting up to speed with the changing media and advertising landscape, including all the fast growth areas to help inform optimum buying, selling, and business decisions. So I'm excited to welcome to the stage our first speaker of the day. It's Max Signorelli, Consumer Research Lead for Media and Entertainment at Omdia.
Hello, everyone. That's a really great introduction. I've never been introduced by the voice of God before, but I like that a lot. Hello, everyone. As I've been so adequately introduced already, my name's Max Signorelli. I'm part of the Media Entertainment Research Division at a intelligence and consultancy company called Omdia, for those that don't know. And I've been tasked with setting up the day, or setting up the next 2 days, as you like to think. So hopefully I can do that some justice. So I'm going to do so by bringing you some stats and revenue figures and what the consumers are up to, and give you a sense of where the markets are at. So there's me, there's all my details. If you want a copy of this, let me know. Or if you want to come find me afterwards, again, I'll be here all day for the next 2 days, so let me know. So like I say, we do the research here that unifies the services that people are using, the devices they are watching it on, and indeed, important to remember, the people that are behind those screens, the consumers, what they're actually interested in, who they are, and what they want out of their services. So I'm going to go through it in more or less that order, but we're going to jump around a little bit there. So let's start by looking at the money, and let's start by looking at how that money has shifted over the last 10, 20 years or so. And you'll see that we've moved from a world where much of advertising revenue, again, starting from the advertising perspective here, advertising revenue has shifted largely from primarily print and linear TV into this world of online dominance. And indeed, we were looking at 2019. 2019 was 5 years ago. So actually, when you look at the 2024, 2023 numbers, they're actually much more representing that of 2029. This is a global basis, and this does change a little bit by market, but the story is the same. We are now already in an online world, and that's only going to get more so. When you look at how that advertising revenue breaks out, though, you see that there's lots of different ways that people are making money through those advertising formats, one of the main ones being display formats, one of the major ones of those being video. Video is where a lot of my research originates from, and so I like talking about the video services, and indeed consumers like using the video services. And indeed, they like using a huge variety of them. We see that the majority of that video revenue comes from social channels, these social channels being things like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube as well, we classify as a social service there, whereas things like premium are things like free ad-supported streaming television, or FAST, as well as things like Netflix's ad-supported tier that it now offers on there as well, or indeed other such broadcaster services, ITVX, Channel 4 streaming, that kind of thing as well. So you see that it breaks out, and again, that will change a lot depending on market. Somewhere like the US is going to have a much larger premium sector there, and indeed markets like Europe also have a fair share of premium in there. But the main point here is that we're skewing heavily to social, but there is a lot of money. That premium chunk there is worth about 40 billion US dollars on a global basis there. So when you look at that segment of that bar, of that pie, of that larger bar, we're talking about quite a lot of money here. And indeed, when we contextualize this compared to all the other areas of media entertainment, again, these are all the areas that we typically study in the M&E team at Omdia, you'll see that the largest and the fastest growing side of this market is the advertising side of things, which is why I led with it. At the same time, there's lots of very valuable sectors on here, online video subscriptions, pay TV being things like Sky TV and Virgin Media, but also things like games, music, cinema. They all have a place and they all generate a significant amount of money on a global basis. But again, I want to talk about the advertising side of things again, because one of the really important parts of this industry is the difference by platform. Now, you see here again, things like mobile is way far out in front. It's kind of synonymous with this whole social media skew on this kind of thing, where those apps are largely used on mobile platforms, and indeed that's where a lot of advertising revenue is generated. However, one of the largest topics in the industry right now, the hottest topic in this space, is that purple line, the connected TV line. Now, that line, while it may not look like much compared to mobile, is a very, very important line because it is the fastest growing line on that chart, but also it's where a lot of attention is being drawn by manufacturers of devices, broadcasters, video services of all kinds, because they're looking to capture that consumer attention and looking to see ways they can monetize the consumer in the long term. And so they're investing very heavily in the connected TV, this idea of the primary usage location for media and entertainment content in the home, at least for the majority of consumers. Now, I've talked a little bit about device platforms there. These are just some of the names in this space, admittedly some of the biggest names in this space, but it's important to realize at the moment that this is a very crowded space. When you think about mobile phones, you have Apple and you have Android, maybe a couple of other platforms in there as well. When you think about PCs, you have Windows and you have Macs and you have a few others in there as well. Just amongst these players here, we're looking at 9, 10, 12, way more than that even, leading brands in these spaces when you look at a global basis. And it gets even more complicated when you look at the devices themselves and the kinds of operating systems they are using on their platforms. And again, this makes the market even more complicated and again, draws lots of questions around the best way to monetize these users. And you see like TV sets like Philips using 1, 2, 3, 4 platforms there. Hisense using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 platforms there. Again, on a global basis, it tends to be highly localized, but importantly here, they're still trying to find out the best way to monetize these users. But importantly, they are trying to monetize the users through these platforms as opposed to through the sales of the hardware themselves, where the margins are increasingly thin, but the ad revenue is, I'm not going to say limitless, but it offers very long, lifelong, ongoing revenue attribution there. And they're starting to try and be very clever with this. Again, by controlling the platform, you control the user journey. And when it comes to advertising, controlling the user journey also has an element of controlling what people see and how they may end up going on to buy certain products. And that's where we start talking about these ideas of things like shoppable TV. This idea that you see something on TV, you like it, your device enables you to go through to a storefront, make that purchase, and have that purchase be delivered to you by a retailer of choice. It all sounds very easy. It's extremely complicated. There are a lot of partnerships going on here, and indeed just enabling this within the device platform is not something that is done very easily either. But nonetheless, a lot of people are going for it. It also talks about this other idea of retail media. Again, the partnerships with the retailers are about as important as the partners with the devices and the platforms. And when we look at a European forecast of this, this is a market that's going to be worth 30 billion in 2029. And importantly as well, one of the key players in this space is Amazon. At the moment, they have about 3/4 of the retail media market in Europe. That's going to go down to maybe 60% or so they average out to roughly two-thirds over that time period. So it means that there are other players, other retailers getting involved in this space, and again, making the market a lot more complicated. And again, what does that mean for who's going to win in that race? It's still a bit unclear. There are so many players doing so many things. They're going to coalesce at some point, and it's not going to be as easy as saying, this one's going to be the best, this one's going to be the best. There's a lot of regional discrepancy as well. Now, one of the reasons I'm talking about this is, again, because of the importance of the connected TV. And when you look at usage of video services like Netflix, taking the largest one across a number of these markets, you see that smart TV usage, or rather the inbuilt smart TV apps usage, has only grown substantially with time, even at the discount of things like dedicated media streamers, that is, so things like Fire TV sticks, games consoles plummeting, and indeed non-connected TV devices actually falling off in monthly usage over the last 5 years. So again, this smart TV has really solidified its position as one of the most valuable portals to content for the consumers, and indeed one of the most valuable portals for those accessing things like advertising. But it's important to understand as well that none of this happens in a vacuum. Consumers do lots of things, sometimes concurrently. They're involved in lots of different sectors. They may subscribe to video services. They may be gamers, cinema goers. They may use social services. They may be interested in sports content, make use of, and that last one there is making active use of connected TV devices, which we've defined as being at least multiple times a week. So you'll see how these overlaps are very substantial. I can't do a presentation about advertising and media entertainment without talking about FAST. So when you look at FAST users across these places, and again, this is a big phenomenon in the US. You see that 64% of US consumers that we sampled make use of at least one FAST service at least once a month, compared to 37% in the UK and as low as 26% in places like Germany. But you'll see that these overlaps skew even higher. So when you're looking at these consumers and when you're thinking about the kind of content these people like and the kind of services these people use, it's very wide and varied. Other hot topics in the industry, things like the bundling of content. That there is a screenshot of the Made for Germany Samsung bundle, which basically says when you buy a Samsung TV, in some cases you can get 24 months of subscription services for free with the purchase of that. So again, new ways of bundling these content and services together. Things like Paramount Plus and Walmart Plus in the US. Again, bundling services, we're kind of familiar with this concept, something that Amazon Prime made up. But at the same time, there are lots of players that can do this kind of thing. And indeed, a very recent one, Go Big and Go Home, this phenomena where you go to the cinema, go watch a film in the Odeon, and you can get a discount on the transactional video aspect of that at home afterwards. So again, lots of new partnerships being formed in this space. And one of the last hot topics I want to talk about is still the importance of sports here. These are purchase drivers for pay TV subscriptions. That's things like Sky TV and Virgin Media again. And we see that in the UK, sports dominates one of the reasons that people want to subscribe to these services the most. And indeed, that is also tangible in that sports is one of the hot places to advertise as well. And there's a lot of value in getting in front of these users because, again, these pay TV users, and particularly these sports users, are among those with the greatest propensity to pay for that content and indeed pay for other media entertainment or other services, retail services as well. So a very important part of the base to be targeting there. And with that, I can see I'm about to run out of time, but I want to thank you for giving me the stage here. I hope you all learned something. That QR code takes you to my LinkedIn. If you want these slides, please do let me know. But I hope I've given you a quick but adequate introduction to the day, so I hope you all enjoy it, and we'll see you around today. Thank you.